Hello and welcome to the introductions of the 2016 Teachers of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools. I'm Kevin Perry, your host for the show, and I'm excited to introduce to you these awesome educators. Keep in mind that one of these educators will be named the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie County, go on to compete and win the Teacher of the Year for the state of Florida, and become the 2016 National Teacher of the Year. All of us have sat in classrooms of many great teachers. Throughout the history of the world, great teachers have inspired, comforted, persuaded, and motivated. All of us can recall a certain teacher, a very special someone who inspired us to learn. Regardless of their fields of study, they were all visionaries who led by example and whose actions transformed lives. Every day, we, along with the million parents, entrust our students to teachers. They instruct them, discipline them, guide them, coach them, and inspire them to fulfill their potential. They teach social skills as well as social studies, self-esteem as well as spelling, citizenship as well as science, tolerance as well as typing, and enthusiasm for learning as well as content mastery. Therefore, this program presents some extraordinary men and women whose timeless wisdom echoes the integrity, strength, character, and passion of educators all across our district and all across our nation. This program is a tribute to and for teachers and celebrates the special and often heroic role they play in their students' lives. This program is, in our small way, an opportunity to say thank you to those who educate, encourage, empower, and inspire students of our world. And with that, we're pleased to introduce to you our very first Teacher of the Year that we'll be speaking with, Miss Mallory Ziegler, who's the awesome Teacher of the Year for Allapattah Flats K-8 School. Miss Ziegler, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And along with her is her awesome principal, Miss Patty Galloway. Again, welcome.
Good morning.
Now, as we talk to our fantastic teachers, why don't we start with a little bit about your background?
Sure. I grew up in Syracuse, New York, which is upstate, and I went to college in Rochester. I did 2 undergraduate degrees, one in general education, which in New York it was certified 1st through 6th grade, and then I did my second in what they called student with disabilities, which was also 1st through 6th grade. I also have my master's in literacy, birth through 6, but when I came here they transferred a little bit differently, so I'm very excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you here. We're excited for you to represent Allapattah Flats. Tell us what grade and what subjects are encompassed in the grades that you teach.
Certainly. I teach self-contained, so I have 6th through 8th grade students. They are achieving academically a little bit differently than your general education students, so I teach on access points, and I teach all subjects.
What is your favorite part of teaching?
Oh my gosh, the students. I love my students. They're just great to come into every day. I don't ever get up and think, oh, I don't want to go in there. They're fun and they make me smile. It's a great job.
There's something about that smile that you get, that intrinsic reward that you receive on the end. So I think I understand that very much. With the advent of how our students learn today, there's a lot of use of technology. So how do you infuse technology in your teaching and the students' learning?
I'm really fortunate to actually be one of the teachers that have a smart board. It's taken a little bit to get up and running, so we're getting towards that. I'm really excited to start using that in daily instruction. I also try to include video clips as much as I can to sort of engage and get them ready for lessons in the day. I also start every day off with a PowerPoint, and so that they know what's expected of them to start the day off.
Now, have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher, or when did you decide to be a teacher?
I think I'm pretty lucky. I guess I always knew. I came from a family with a lot of teachers in it. They never once said that's what you have to do, but I guess I remember being really in 2nd grade and thinking, I like this, and I knew I wanted to do it.
Well, you told me that you come from a long lineage of teachers. Was there one special teacher that stood out, or one special family member that stood out that actually really inspired you to become a teacher?
My mom definitely is a big one. She's been teaching for 20 plus years. But I had my 1st and 2nd grade teacher. I was fortunate to loop, so I had her 2 years in a row. and she was phenomenal. I've been in touch with her still. I used to visit her during my undergraduate and graduate studies, and she just was so inspiring.
Oh, it's great. It's great to hear that and understand that there's a connection that you still have, even with your family members, of course, but with those teachers that inspired you. Ms. Galloway, listening to Ms. Ziegler talk this morning, I know that you see some exciting things as you visit her classroom. Can you tell us, what is it that you see and hear when you visit her classroom?
Well, her enthusiasm spills over. I mean, obviously, you can see she sparkles, and when you walk into her classroom, the room just sparkles with excitement, and her children are very engaged. She's probably one of the most organized and deliberately organized teachers that I have ever met, because she really orients her students both in color codes and numerically, so that they can access their education in a very seamless manner. Her students are very happy. She engages them in real-world activities. We have a Grace Packs program where we feed some of our students who have food insufficiencies at home. But Ms. Ziegler and her students are the team that actually put those packages together each week for students. So they are engaged in real world and whole school activities.
You mentioned the Grace Packs, and that'll lead me into my second question. What other activities do you see Ms. Ziegler participating in about and around the campus that, in essence, help for the total operation of the school?
You know, sometimes you will see teachers and students in self-contained classrooms who are kind of set aside and are not part of a school family. But Ms. Ziegler and her students are everywhere. They are involved in every aspect of our program, our music program, our intramural program. And Ms. Ziegler has really influenced them and inspired her kids to participate. So there's really not an activity in our school after hours, extracurricular, or during our school day that you don't see Ms. Ziegler's face. She's one of those that volunteers for every committee, for every activity. There are banners and posters hanging in the school for every intramural sports. She has been coaching our volleyball team, or coaching our volleyball team. She comes to every performance because her students participate in our choral programs, our band programs, and so she volunteers and supports. But she's one of those faces that is everywhere in our school.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. I'm going to move us forward, Ms. Galloway, and Ms. Ziegler has already been chosen for the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie County. She's the Florida Teacher of the Year, and now the interview team from the National Teacher of the Year is calling to talk to you about her. And the question is, describe your candidate, Ms. Ziegler, using 3 adjectives. What would you tell them?
I'd say she's enthusiastic, she's energetic, and she's knowledgeable.
Then they're going to follow up with this question. So what makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
Ms. Ziegler is a perfect candidate because she is someone that can inspire greatness in others. She certainly has inspired many of the teachers on our team because of her enthusiasm and her commitment to her students and to her profession. And so when you look at her and that sparkle and that enthusiasm that she brings, she's very well spoken. She would be a great candidate to be able to influence others, to let the world know, one, how accomplished our educational system is, and 2, to inspire others to greatness.
Ms. Ziegler, coming back to you, I heard you use the word engagement, and I heard Mrs. Galloway use the word engagement. In our quality instruction framework, DQ5 is all about engagement. So how do you plan for engagement in your lessons?
One thing that I said earlier was I like to try and include something that will catch their attention to get them ready for whatever the lesson might be for the day. But aside from that, I really like to give each student a chance to voice what they're thinking, or maybe what they don't understand, because that's helpful for me too. One of the ways that I do that, I often make sure that there's a chance during lessons for students to have individual whiteboards where they give their answers. So then I can see what is it that they know. And then from there, it kind of lends itself also for the opportunity for students to talk about themselves, which is, I think, a big key in engaging students when they get to relate to what they're learning about.
Always when you can engage students, it makes the learning more relevant and meaningful to students. So that is a very important characteristic, planning tool, strategy for teachers to continue to use. You seem so very excited about your instruction and about your students and the work that you're doing at Allapattah Flats. Is there something new or something exciting that you're involved with this year that you want to share with our viewing audience?
Yeah, I think one of the things Ms. Galloway touched on was Grace Packs, which was started roughly in the middle of last year, and we've really seen it grown. It's great. It's also something that other schools have been able to incorporate as well, and they also have, from what I've heard, self-contained classes also helping. So it's really flattering and exciting to know that other students are getting involved. But also this year I've been able to help pilot our student council. So we're starting to get that back on the road and get that moving. So it's exciting to try something that hasn't been done for a while.
So you're all over the campus.
A little bit.
No, that's great. That's great. I think when students see their teachers involved, they understand that learning is important, and those other aspects of learning, not just the ABCs or the 1, 2, 3s, but those other aspects that make learning part of their natural growth progression, they understand how important all of those things are. Keeping in mind that you're involved everywhere, it kind of trickles down to helping students become a success. So what impact do you think you have on your students' college or career readiness?
I think that by being an example and showing them to get out there and try new things, and I've seen my students do that. I've seen them branch out, like Ms. Galloway touched on, even something like intramural sports. I have students that I never would have thought were going to try and go out there, and they did it on their own. So I really feel like being there for them and supporting them and just leading by example is a big help for them. And just by helping them with life skills and everyday problems to know that they can go and do it.
Life skills and understanding the importance of how you work on the team at your school allows them to be able to play intramural sports or participate in band, which are all that team concept, which we also know that many businesses are looking for those persons who have the ability to collaborate, work collegially, and work on the team. Let's talk about some advice if we can. What, as the teacher of the year, what advice would you give to, let's say, a brand new first-year teacher?
I still feel pretty new myself, so it's tricky, but I've thought about that before, and I really think it comes down to telling somebody to enjoy it. I know that I'm hard on myself and I worry about things constantly when it comes to school, and I think, well, did I do enough? Did I do this? But like I said, at the end of the day, it's to enjoy what you're there doing, and if you enjoy it, I really think the kids will feel it.
Ms. Galloway, let me give you one additional question, okay? Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you would like to share with our viewing audience about your fantastic Teacher of the Year?
Well, Miss Ziegler is just a phenomenal teacher, and she is a great example to others. She leads by example. Her students with disabilities, her special needs students, have really blossomed and excelled. They're students that are accepted. They're students that see themselves as being able to do so many things, and they are measured by all the things that they can do. And that's a tribute to Miss Ziegler and her leadership of her students and how she presents them through the school. So she's our Teacher of the Year, and I know that she can succeed as the St. Lucie Teacher of the Year, and hopefully Florida and the nation.
I love the light and the smile that comes in your eyes when you talk about Miss Ziegler. We were talking about advice before we went to Miss Galloway. We talked about advice that you might give to a new teacher. But because each and every day you're trying to prepare your students for career, college readiness, that kind of thing, so you have to have conversations with their parents. What information do you give parents to help ensure that those students are a success?
I have great parents, first of all. They're really willing to go the extra mile to help their children. So it's really helpful for me. I have them often asking, what can we do at home? And I always try to make sure, too, to focus on the positive, because to me that's so important. There's enough people out there saying things that can be negative, especially I feel for my students and where they come from. So I think it's really important to stay positive and support everything that they do.
When will you know that you are a success?
I think that's tough because, like I said before, I'm tough on myself. But for me, it really comes back to my students. And I think I'll know I'm a success when my students are successful and when I see them growing and maturing and doing things that they didn't think they could do and the things that I knew they could do. And I think for me, that's where it's at.
From all of us here in St. Lucie Public Schools, it is a pleasure to speak with Ms. Mallory Ziegler, the Teacher of the Year for Allapattah Flats K-8 School, and the awesome principal there, Ms. Patty Gallaray. Ms. Ziegler, in closing, I'd just like to say to you that good teaching comes not from behind the desk, but from behind the heart. That's the quote from Elizabeth Andrews, and it's very evident that you have the heart for teaching. Thank you for representing all teachers very well, and it's a pleasure to speak with you this morning.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation letter.
You're resigning. Why?
Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you eat stuff like this.
You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately.
That's why I'm ready to quit.
I forgot. I'll do better. Please, don't quit on me.
Okay, but remember, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Hello, and it is our pleasure to welcome to our Teacher of the Year Spotlight, Ms. Megan Fisher, who's the wonderful Teacher of the Year for Bayshore Elementary. Ms. Fisher, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Along with her this morning is the awesome principal at Bayshore Elementary School, Ms. Lori Reed. Ms. Reed, it's a pleasure to have you as well.
Thank you.
I am so elated to have an opportunity to speak with the Teachers of the Year and introduce them to our wonderful, vast viewing audience. So, Ms. Fisher, let's start with a little bit about your background. Would you introduce yourself and tell us the grade and the subject that you teach at Bayshore?
Yes, my name is Megan Fisher. This is my 8th year teaching, and I teach 5th grade at Bayshore Elementary. I teach everything: math, science, reading, writing, and social studies.
Again, it is a pleasure to have this opportunity to speak with you. Tell our viewing audience where you attended school, your program of study, and possibly your certification area.
Okay, I studied at Stetson University in DeLand, Florida, and I have my bachelor's in elementary education, and I'm certified in elementary ed K-6, and I also have my ESOL endorsement.
Let's jump right in. What's your favorite part of teaching?
Oh, definitely my students. I love my students. I love creating a warm, positive, supportive environment for them to learn in and to thrive in.
5th grade can be a tough year because that is one of those testing grades. So how do you handle that with your students?
I just try my best with them and tell them to try their best. Always follow your heart, and I try to be as supportive as I can to the parents and to the students.
Understanding the world that our students are living in and their involvement with many uses of technology, how do you infuse technology into your daily learning?
I love technology. We have desktop computers in our classrooms, which I use for my reading stations, as well as we're very fortunate at Bayshore to have laptop carts. So I've used those various times for different research projects with my students. I also have leap pads that I use, as well as my projector to project PowerPoint games such as Jeopardy, as well as other digital media.
I can just assume that students love to have those hands-on, what they would call fun opportunities,
They do, yes.
strategies to increase and help their learning. When did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
For as long as I can remember. It's funny, I remember when I was in elementary school gathering my brother and the other neighborhood kids and playing teacher.
I thought you were going to say gathering your baby dolls and sitting them up.
I did that too, but I always wanted to be a teacher, always.
Do you think that there was somebody or somebodies that inspired you to be a teacher?
Yes, I would say there were actually 2 people, my mother and my father. Growing up, they were very active in my education all the way through college, and they always valued and loved education, and I believe that they instilled that love and those values in me, and which is why I'm a teacher today.
Great. It's so good when those values are instilled, and then those can be trickled down to the next generation so that they would not only love learning, but possibly love teaching as well. Ms. Reed, listening to the wonderful use of technology and the excitement that beams from Ms. Fisher as she talks about her classroom. When you visit her classroom, what do you see and hear in that room?
First of all, her classroom has such a warm and inviting environment. She always decorates and has everything ready. Actually, her classroom is the snow theme from
Frozen.
Frozen, yes. And for 5th grade, it really creates that warm environment for her students, very caring when you walk into her classroom. All of her students are always working collaboratively. Mrs. Fisher has truly embraced the framework for St. Lucie County. All of her students they have their learning goals and their scales, and they're working together on rigorous assignments. When you walk in, right before break, we walked in, and her students were solving math problems. Very rigorous. Each group had a different problem. So they were all talking through and working through those and then sharing those out with each other and doing some teaching to each other for those kinds of things. So she really, her voice is always calm and serene, and her students really care about learning in her classroom, and that emanates from the culture that's in her room.
Oh, it's awesome when the students can become the teacher and help their peers learn, and the teacher can kind of be this kind of hawk that kind of swoops in whenever she may need to increase and push and further that learning. As a Teacher of the Year, listening to the passion that generates and the students that she teaches in 5th grade, what other activities, committees do you see Ms. Fisher participating in on your campus?
She participates in a lot of things that focuses on the development of all the students at Bayshore. She is actually our science teacher leader, so she attends meetings and then shares information with the rest of the staff, and is always there to help support those teachers as we are moving forward with science. Working with our 4th grade teachers, getting our students ready, so not just with our 5th grade students. Encouraging our primary students to participate in science and science fair and field trips that are available. She's also a team leader, not just any team leader. This year we really have supported our teachers in collaborative planning. So she works very well with her team and really digging into the new standards for 3, 4, and 5, or I'm sorry, for 4, 5, and 3, 4, and 5. Looking at our ELA standards and finding materials to be able to support those standards. So she really has coordinated that very well and supported administration and supports her team in being able to do that. She's also attends ESET 2, with the district, and she's provided professional development for our teachers in all grade levels. And the last professional development day, she was modeling close reading. So not only did she model that for her teachers, for our teachers, she's there to support them and provide anything. She even offered for teachers to come in and observe her as she was doing close reading with her students. So she really supports all of the students and teachers at Bayshore.
Wow, that's really awesome to know that as Teacher of the Year, you're involved in the total operation of the school, not only making sure that your students learn, but helping your peers continue to grow and develop so that their students will continue to grow and develop as well. We talked a little about engagement in your classroom, and I hear the engaging kinds of activities that you're also doing with your peers. DQ5 in our quality framework instruction is all about engagement. So how do you purposefully plan engagement in your lessons?
Well, when my team and I collaboratively plan, we always make sure to involve manipulatives as well as a lot of Kagan structures. For example, think, pair, share, stand up, hand up, pair up. I know my students this year love to get out of their seats and to move around, work with different groups. So we try to do that at least 5 to 10 times a day, which they really enjoy.
And those things are purposefully applied to the planning of the lesson. We understand that students like to be involved. They like to be hands-on. They like to be able to share. And when we purposefully plan those kinds of activities, it only increases their understanding of the content matter. You're involved everywhere on campus. But is there something special that sticks out, or something new, something exciting that you're involved in that you would like to share with our viewing audience?
Well, this year I'm part of the St. Lucie County Science Teacher Leader Team, which I really love. We meet quarterly and we discuss the science standards. We unwrap all the standards, talk about how we're going to teach our students these standards as well as assess the standards. And meeting with other teachers at other schools, it's great to collaborate and come up with new ideas together, and then bring it back to my school and share it with my team.
As a Teacher of the Year, you will be called upon to speak many times to many different people. One of those groups could be new teachers at your school possibly. What advice would you give to new teachers?
I would say always be open to change and new ideas. As teaching, there's always new things occurring, and so always be open to change. And also find somebody at your school that you can relate to. My first year teaching, I was very fortunate to be placed next to an outstanding teacher that was extremely helpful. I was over there in the morning before school and after school asking questions, and she was very helpful. And to this day, we actually still work on the same team. And having somebody, and she wasn't even my mentor, she was just an additional teacher that was extremely helpful. So find somebody at your school, I would say, that you can relate to, that you get along well with, that can help you.
Yeah, when we can partner with other people, whether they're teaching the same subject that we're teaching, and we become an open picture and we can just take their wisdom and their knowledge,
Yes.
it only helps us continue to grow. As a fifth grade teacher, you're preparing your students for what's to come next. So what impact do you have on your students' college and career readiness?
Well, in fifth grade, we teach the fundamentals of everything. And in my classroom, I set very high expectations for my students. I have a very rigorous classroom. I expect my students to learn and to perform at very high levels. And I feel that preparing them for the assessments we have in here, it's also preparing them for middle, high school, college, and career. I mean, we have these discussions daily in the classroom.
When students are exposed to the rigorous work, they perform extremely well. Ms. Reed, let me come back to you. Ms. Fisher has been selected as the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie County. She's the Teacher of the Year for the state of Florida, and the National Committee is calling you. And the first question that they'll ask you is, describe your candidate using 3 adjectives. What would you say?
I would have to say caring, intelligent, and passionate.
Caring, intelligent, and passionate. She kind of exudes those kinds of
does.
personalities
She
as
does.
we sit and talk this morning. They're going to give you a follow-up question, and it's going to be just as simple as this. What makes Ms. Fisher the perfect candidate for this honor?
She's the perfect candidate because she cares about all of her students and her faculty and her families. She truly, truly embraces her students and truly embraces the Kids at Hope philosophy as well, that all of her students are capable of success, no exceptions, and all of her students are always successful. Her students love to be in her classroom, and they love to learn, and they love to learn together, and they really want, and that emanates throughout the school, throughout her team, because her team filters that through, and then working with other teams, it filters into other teams. So that joy of teaching and love of learning really filters throughout our entire building, and that's thanks to our Teacher of the Year.
Joy of teaching and the joy of learning. All students are capable of success, no exceptions. Keeping that success idea in mind, what advice would you give to parents to help them ensure that their students are a success?
Always try to be positive with your child. I always tell the parents in my classroom that. Try to be as supportive as you can. And to my students, I always tell them, try your best, try to stay positive, have a positive attitude, and I always tell them, whatever you put your heart to, you can do, no matter what.
Yeah, that advice to parents is really important, because as students begin to get older, parents may tend to kind of pull away, but they still need to be there, lending that hand, giving positive information, positive comments to students. As we begin to come to a close, Ms. Reed, is there anything else that you may want to say about Ms. Fisher?
I would say that Mrs. Fisher is a perfect candidate for St. Lucie County Teacher of the Year because she truly embraces our framework, and not only does she embrace it, she has a way to really get people involved, and she is able to accept feedback and seek feedback, not only accept feedback, but seek feedback. If we visit her classroom and we talk to her and we give her some feedback, and then she's like, okay, come on in, let's see what else we can do. And then she shares that with her team and with others. And that really, truly emanates, our Teacher of the Year.
Awesome. Final question for you, Mrs. Fisher. When will you know that you're a success?
I feel like every year when I receive letters from my students or from the parents of my students telling me thank you for making a difference in my child's life, I always feel successful after reading those letters, as well as when I get scores back from different assessments and I see that my students are proficient. We just did a science assessment on force and motion, and I had all of my students proficient. That's when I feel like I've been a successful teacher.
That's when it really matters, and when it all comes together, and when we see basically the fruits of our labor. It is a pleasure for us to have an opportunity to speak with Mrs. Megan Fisher, the awesome Teacher of the Year for Bayshore Elementary School.
Thank you.
And her wonderful principal, Ms. Lori Reed. And Ms. Fisher, I'd just like to tell you that teachers leave footprints on the souls of children, and we appreciate the work that you do and the footprints that you're leaving on the souls of the children here in St. Lucie County Public Schools. Thank you.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
At this time, we want to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlights, Ms. Courtney Burton, who's the fantastic Teacher of the Year at C.A. Moore Elementary School. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Along with her is the very dynamic principal of C.A. Moore, Ms. Pam Holmes. Ms. Holmes, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Perry.
Ms. Burton, let's get started. Let's jump right in. Would you please introduce yourself to our viewing audience? Tell them what grade you teach and the subjects that you teach.
Sure. My name is Courtney Burton. I am a first grade teacher at C.A. Moore. I've been there for 8 years, and I teach first grade.
What college did you attend, university did you attend, and what was your program of study?
I first started out at IRSC, and I got my AA in elementary education, and then I went to Florida Atlantic University and got my bachelor's in elementary education.
Now, homegrown.
Yes, sir.
Seen many teachers as you've come through St. Lucie Public Schools.
Yes.
What is your favorite part of teaching?
My favorite part of teaching is when my students have that aha moment, when all the planning and the preparing comes together and you know that they just really got it. I do a lot of tracking success with charts and things in my room, and when the students see that growth and they get excited about it, I just really love that.
Yeah, I think it was the A-team said, I love it when a plan comes together.
Yes.
When you see the light bulb come on and you, oh yeah, he got it. They get it. That really is exciting to all educators. Knowing that this time that our students are learning in and how they are growing up, they've always had the use of technology at their fingertips in everything that they do. How do you purposefully infuse technology in your planning for instruction?
Well, my two favorite things are Think Central and that Smart Notebook. I use Think Central all the time with introducing the Go Math concepts and also the Science Fusion. It has a lot of great online tutorials you can walk them through and intros to the lessons. I also use Smart Notebook all the time. I've uploaded all my thinking maps into Smart Notebook. We use it daily for writing. We infuse it into pretty much everything we do.
Great. As we all know that school is very important to you as a teacher. When did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
I decided when I was in 3rd grade. I had the most awesome 3rd grade teacher, and she really made all the students feel special, and you knew she wanted you to succeed and knew you could succeed. She made learning so engaging and so fun that to this day I vividly remember lessons I did with her. And I really valued my experience with her, and I wanted to be what she was for me.
Wow. Ms. Holmes, coming to you, we've talked a little bit about technology with Mrs. Burton, and she's just shared with us about the passion that is generated from the teacher, her 3rd grade teacher, and how she wants to be what that teacher was to her students. So tell us, when you visit her classroom, what is it that you see and hear in the 1st grade classroom and her students?
When I walk into Miss Burton's classroom, it is an environment that I would want my child to be in. The students are engaged. Miss Burton is nurturing them. She's compassionate. The students are monitoring their own progress, and she is modeling for them how to monitor their progress, which ultimately leads to the success in them. Her calming demeanor is so inviting and inspiring to the students. They all know that she respects them, she is fair, and she trusts them. She models that respect in her classroom. She is like the hawk monitoring her students to make sure that they are being successful. And as she speaks about her third grade teacher, I remember when Courtney was in third grade. And I value that because she, as a teacher today and as an adult, she was like that as a student. She was respectful, she was well-mannered, and she had a calm demeanor then as she does today.
Calm, respectful, when we can transfer that kind of values, morals, those kinds of behaviors into students, it helps their progress, steady progress. It increases their attention and their focus so that they could better learn the concepts that's going on. As a teacher of the year, she wants to be like her third grade teacher. Tell us, Ms. Holmes, what other activities do you see Mrs. Burton participating in at C.A. Moore?
Ms. Burton is a leader because she influences others. She has been involved as a co-chairperson in 21st Century, both during the school year and in the summer. She is grade chairperson. She has been co-chairperson of PBS. And there are a myriad of other activities that she is involved in, and she never says no. She is always right up front, ready to take action.
Great, great. It's so great when we have teachers that are involved in the everyday operations of our campus. We talked a little bit about using technology in the classroom, and Ms. Holmes mentioned it about how you are the hawk that kind of swoops down in as we facilitate learning, even with the first graders. In our quality framework of instruction, we know that DQ5 is all about engagement. How do you purposefully plan the use of engagement with your lessons?
Well, I definitely infuse the technology like we talked about. I also put a lot of Kagan strategies into my lessons so that the students are moving and they're talking about their learning, and we're having a variety of activities. Another thing I do is I always make sure I'm excited about what I'm teaching. If I'm excited about it, they're going to be excited about it. If I'm on fire for it, they're going to be on fire for it about it and want to learn more.
That reminds me of the book that says "Teach Like Your Hair is on Fire." Yeah. And what point are you boiling at? Yeah. I think when we bring that excitement to the subject matter, students begin to hold on to our coattail and they go along for the ride. So they become excited about learning simply because of the relationships that we have built with them. They get excited because we're excited as their instructor. On the campus, because we know that you're heavily involved in multiple activities, is there something new or something exciting that you're involved with this year that you may want to share with our viewing audience?
I would say it's the 21st Century Grant. I've actually worked with that for 3 years now, and we just found out we're getting it again this year. It starts again when the students go back, and I'm very excited about what we do. We give the students an opportunity to stay after school, be in a structured environment. We help them with homework. We give them reading and math support, and then we also offer them an enrichment that they may not get outside of school. So I'm very excited to have that program back and be the co-chairperson for that program.
Coming back to you, Mrs. Holmes, it's already happened. We've named Mrs. Burton the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie County Schools. She's the Teacher of the Year for the state of Florida, and the National Committee is calling you. The first question they're going to ask is, say, Mrs. Holmes, thinking about your candidate, how would you describe her using 3 adjectives?
Ms. Burton is caring, Ms. Burton is engaging, and Ms. Burton is nurturing. I could go through a list of adjectives to describe her, and it was very difficult to limit it to 3 adjectives. But she cares and truly is compassionate about what she does and is dedicated to the success of all students.
Oh, that's great to hear. Caring, engaging for all students, because we know, being a Kids at Hope district, that all students are capable of a success, no exceptions. They have a follow-up question for you, Ms. Holmes. They're not going to let you off that easy. They're going to come back and say, okay, then tell us what makes your Teacher of the Year, Ms. Burton, the perfect candidate for this honor.
We've talked about what Courtney does in the classroom, and I think that is very important. I also feel like it's important that she's homegrown. She has been educated in our local school system. She is a product of our community, and she has come back to teach in our community. And I think that is very important in addition to what she does in the classroom that makes her shine as a product of St. Lucie Public Schools.
It is very important when we have students that matriculate through our public school system come back and share that learning, that love, and that knowledge that they've gained with the next generation. Ms. Burton, speaking of sharing, as a Teacher of the Year, you may be called upon to give advice or to speak to new teachers on your campus or new teachers in the district. What advice would you give to a new teacher?
I would tell them that there is a lot to learn. It's important to be organized and flexible, to rely on your colleagues and your mentor teachers, go to them for advice, learn as much as possible, but in the end know that your students are your #1 priority, and all the hard work that you put into it is going to come back around and it will pay off. The successes are worth the hard work.
Yeah, it's neat when we have our colleagues that collaborate and work collegially with us to help us better instruct students when we share. And being an educator, we have to always remember that it's necessary for us to be flexible, necessary for us to be adaptable as well. Also, along the lines of advice, you're dealing with first grade students.
Yes.
How are you preparing your students to be career and college ready?
The main thing I do is relay to my students that they are capable of success and they're capable of doing anything they want to do. They can be whatever they want to be, as long as they set their mind to it and work towards it.
Speaking to your parents then, what advice do you share with parents to help them ensure that their students are capable of that success?
I ask my parents to have an active role in the students' learning, to make sure that they're backing up what I'm doing in the classroom, that they're working with the students on the same thing, and really giving it meaning at home too, so that it sticks with them and they're able to be successful in it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful partnership when the school and the home comes together for the benefit of all children. We just see them grow and bloom and blossom into reaching their fullest potential. Ms. Holmes, as we begin to come to a close in our conversation today, is there anything else that you want to share with us about Mrs. Burton?
I would like to share that Ms. Burton is a lifelong learner. Yes, she is our Teacher of the Year from C.A. Moore, and we are extremely proud of her. However, she is not afraid to seek advice from colleagues. She is always learning, and she models that with her students, that there is not an end to learning. It is endless to grow and to learn.
Thank you, thank you. Lifelong learner, continue to read, continue to inspire, continue to grow. When you continue to learn and grow, it helps us better help our students continue to learn and grow. My final question to you would be, when will you know that you are a success?
I think there's always room to grow and learn more, but I feel like on a daily basis I have success. Every day that my students have that aha moment, or they make growth, or they come to me and say, look how much I moved up on our chart, look, I'm tracking my progress. I think that's a daily success, just even the small moments where they're really making that connection.
Yeah. Somebody said don't sweat the small stuff, but it's those small things that lead to the large successes that students have. It is indeed a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with Ms. Courtney Burton, the fantastic Teacher of the Year at C.A. Moore Elementary School, and her dynamic principal, Ms. Pam Holmes, as we spotlight Teacher of the Years here in St. Lucie Public Schools. And I want to just share this with you, that whoever first coined the phrase, "You are the wind beneath my wings," must assuredly have been talking about the influence of very special teachers like yourself. So thank you for being the wind beneath our students' wings, and it's been a pleasure, and we look forward to seeing many more successes from you as the Teacher of the Year for C.A. Moore Elementary School.
What do you think it would be like to teach? Chances are, you have no idea. Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places, and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable. That's what it's like to teach.
At this time, we're pleased to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight show, Mrs. Priscilla Griffin, who is the wonderful Teacher of the Year at Del Castens Education Center. Mrs. Griffin, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Along with her is a very dynamic principal at Del Castens Complex, Ms. Ellen Harden. Welcome.
Thank you.
It is a pleasure to have an opportunity to introduce you to our viewing audience as we celebrate the dynamic work that all of our wonderful educators are doing here in St. Lucie County, but especially as we highlight and spotlight those teachers that have been chosen as the Teacher of the Year for their schools. Would you please introduce yourself to our viewing audience and tell them what grade and what subjects you teach?
Okay, my name is Priscilla Griffin. I teach at Dale Cassens Education Complex. I teach grades 9 to 12 math, which includes Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry, Liberal Arts, and Advanced Algebra with financial applications.
Wow, that's a lot to do. That's a lot to do, 9 through 12.
Yes.
Oh, great, great. What school did you attend and what was your program of study, your certification area?
I attended Indian River State College, and I actually started with teaching elementary in mind, and then I changed and decided I wanted to do high school math, and I got my Bachelor's of Science in Secondary Mathematics Education.
Great, great. Oh, well, it is indeed a pleasure, again, as I mentioned, to have an opportunity to talk with you and to congratulate you for the wonderful work that you're doing at Dale Cassens, but also to spotlight you as the Teacher of the Year for Dale Cassens. Because you're teaching an array of math subjects, what commonality do you see in those subjects that you're teaching with those students?
Solving equations is, across the board. I'm teaching that in all of my subjects. I'm seeing trigonometric functions is in geometry as well as Algebra 2. And of course, applying it all to the real world is common in all subjects.
That's a great answer. How those math concepts actually are applicable in the entire world. So now we're preparing students not just in the classroom for the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s, but for real life application. What is your favorite part of teaching?
I think it would be working with children every day and knowing that I have some kind of impact on their lives every day.
That's awesome as well. I think that would be a common for all of us educators, is what we see going on with students and knowing that we're preparing them for what I like to call their what's next to come. The world that our students are living in and the world that they will inherit is infused with a lot of technology. It's been at their fingertips probably since birth. How do you infuse technology into your planning and to your lessons?
Well, to make it interesting for them, I like to do academic games, which might be Jeopardy. I'll do PowerPoints, videos, virtual manipulatives. It's important that they use technology. It increases their engagement, I think.
Increases their engagement. And it gives them a view of what's actually happening in the world that they're
right.
part of. Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
It's something I always knew. It was just, I don't remember a time when I didn't want to be a teacher. When I was younger, I would always play school or teacher with my friends, and it was just something I always wanted to do.
Go ahead.
Never wanted to be anything else.
Yeah, I thought you was going to say you would set your baby dolls up, and maybe we did that also. Because you've always known that you wanted to be a teacher, do you think that there was someone or some teacher that actually inspired you to want to be a teacher?
I'm not really sure where the inspiration came from. I think it's just always been a part of me. I've always wanted to be a teacher.
So you were born to teach?
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay. Ms. Harden, as we continue our conversation about the Teacher of the Year, Ms. Griffin, at Dale Cassens Education Center, when you visit any of her classrooms, her math classrooms, what do you see and hear in those rooms?
Ms. Griffin comes alive in the classroom. She engages all children, and at Dale Cassens we have a very diverse population. We have all ability levels in all classes, and sometimes multi-aged, multi-graded. She might be having to deal with a classroom where there would be an Algebra 2 student and a pre-calculus student. So her ability to differentiate instruction is phenomenal. She works in groups. She groups children very well. Priscilla is one of our teachers that participates in our district consultant with Mark Raleski, and she uses that instruction and brings it right back into the classroom. So when you're walking in, and as an observer, one of the things I look at is how well she works with all of the design question elements, design questions 2 and 3. The information that she does is a well-rounded lesson. The quality of instruction is there. All the way through looking at the feedback to the students and having the students be able to then apply what she is redirecting them to make sure that real learning is occurring. All of that while balancing the behavior with the motivation, with the multiple lesson planning. She just pulls it all together in a classroom. The kids tell me, I don't even have to ask. They come in and they love going into her classroom. They really believe that they are learning. And I believe that the proof is in the outcomes, and we'll see that during assessment time.
Yeah, that's to be commended, the ability to manage multiple age, multiple subjects, differentiate instruction, continue to track, and then keep those students engaged with the grouping and different activities is very commendable for all educators. So thank you for doing such a marvelous job with that. As you look at Mrs. Griffin on campus, Ms. Harden, what other activities do you see her participating in that add to the total operation of the school?
Well, one of the things I'd already mentioned is she participates with us at the district level for training with Mark R. She also is our house leader. We have small learning communities at Dale Cassens, and for that grade group, the 10 through 12, she's a house leader. So she leads all the other instructors in the house and the support staff to make sure that the house runs well, so in that small learning community. She also is our math content leader as well. Also, she is a new teacher mentor. She wears a lot of hats. She is usually the first person on campus and way much the last. I'm often saying, are you staying later? Or are you ready to go now? She also participates in teaching in our after-school program as well. When she says she loves teaching and she's born to teach, she absolutely means it. 24/7, 365, her mind is around the children.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. We all know that when teachers are heavily involved in the total operation of the school, it makes the school a better place for teaching and for learning. We heard the word engagement from Ms. Harden and the word engagement also from you. DQ5 in our quality instruction framework is all about engagement. So how do you purposefully plan engagement for your lessons?
As I said before, I use technology, which would be, academic games or videos. I also like to plan activities that are going to relate to what they are interested in and link it to their prior knowledge. I use whiteboards to manage my response rates. I use extrinsic motivation, which would be PBIS tickets or small rewards, things like that.
We heard Ms. Harden also mention the plethora of things that you're involved in at Dale Cassens. Is there something new or something exciting that you're involved in this year that you would like to share with our viewing audience?
Well, as she said, I'm the teacher lead for the 10th through 12th grade house, and I've just seen a major improvement in myself this year in terms of my leadership skills, as far as like communicating and organizing and things like that.
So continued growth for you as a teacher, and it allows you to share that same kind of knowledge and information with your peers as well as students. Ms. Harden, let's say that we've already had the selection of Teacher of the Year. Ms. Griffin is the Teacher of the Year. She's gone on to be the Teacher of the Year for the state of Florida, and now the National Committee is calling you. The first question they're going to ask is, say, Ms. Harden, please describe Ms. Griffin using 3 adjectives.
Oh, all right. I'm going to put my glasses on for this because I had to think about this a lot because that's one of the questions we get often.
It's kind of hard to get down to 3.
It is. So I was thinking innovative.
Ooh.
Analytical, the math person.
Got it.
And a motivator. Not only is she motivated, but she motivates others to do. So I was going to look at those as my top 3.
Top 3, innovative, analytical, and motivator. Excellent. When We understand that analytical part, being that math person that's operating over there, but being innovative, that comes on the creative side, trying to make sure that things are engaging and kids are participating regularly, staying focused, and then motivating them to want to learn and participate. They're going to have a follow-up question for you. They're not going to let you off the hook that easy. They're going to say, okay, she's innovative, she's analytical, she's a motivator. So what makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
She's all in. When I say that, she gives of herself completely. She is all in with students. She gives all of her time. It doesn't matter if it's lunch break. If the kids need her, she's there for them. If there's parents that need to have communications, she's all in. She's calling them. She's making sure that the other teachers in the house are following up. She works with the new teachers to help motivate them. She invites teachers into her room. She's all in with students. She's all in with parents. She's all in with the staff. She participates in the school. I mean, that all-in characteristic of her makes me feel like she's a team player, but at the extreme level.
Wow, I like that. I'm going to borrow that. She's all in. So that's a very good descriptor, to be all in. That means you're totally involved and engrossed into the total operation of the school, but also in the learning, the teaching, and the learning of what's going on, which makes learning fun, which makes the school, the complex, a wonderful place for everybody to come in and learn. Thank you for doing such. As a Teacher of the Year, you may be called upon to give advice to others. So, for instance, what advice would you give to a new teacher?
For a new teacher, I would say, don't let the stress or the responsibilities of being a teacher take you away from the reason that you wanted to be a teacher in the first place. And, that reason that you wanted to be a teacher, let it guide you through the challenges of being a teacher.
Yeah, that's a very good place to always go back to, that main reason, so you keep your focus there. Keeping along the same lines, you have to often talk to parents and counsel students. What advice would you give to parents, to our students, to help them ensure that they are a success?
For students, I would say to always put forth your best effort and be proud of yourself when you accomplish something. Don't let what people tell you, steer you away from trying your best.
What impact do you have on students to make sure that they're career and college ready?
Well, as a high school math teacher, I think I have a huge impact on that. As far as college, I think that I have an impact on how important they see college. Mm-hmm. And I need to make sure that they are prepared to do college level math. And for career readiness, if they've chosen that they're not going to go to college, then I need to make sure that they're successful at high school level math so that they can be successful in the real world.
That again goes back to that differentiation, to make sure that they're prepared to be successful in all professions and on any given level. Ms. Harden, I'm going to come back with one last question to you, and it simply is this: is there anything else that you want to add and say about Ms. Griffin?
Ms. Griffin is a true team player. She's totally energetic, awesome, and motivated.
Wow.
She's a team player.
Oh, teamwork makes the dream work. We thank you for doing that, being a part of the team, a very important part of the team. My final question to you is, when will you know that you are a success?
I know that I'm successful when I see that my students are successful. Even small learning gains or seeing a change in the amount of effort that they put in, a positive change in attitude or behavior, any of those things shows that I'm, somewhat successful in, small increments.
Well, Ms. Griffin, it's a pleasure to have an opportunity to talk to you this morning and introduce you to our viewing audience. Ms. Harden, thank you for joining us as well. And Ms. Griffin, I just want to lay this on you and say that teachers inspire dreams, they shape lives, and they give hope to the future. And I believe that you're doing that each and every day at Dale Casson Education Center. Thank you and congratulations for being the Teacher of the Year for your school.
Thank you.
Wake the sun, tell him that I've begun. of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
It's a pleasure for us to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight, Miss Latricia Stubbs, who is the dynamic Teacher of the Year at Dan McCarty Middle School. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Along with her is a very dynamic and awesome principal at Dan McCarty, Miss Felicia Nixon. Ms. Nixon, it's a pleasure to have you as well.
Good to be here, Dr. Perry.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning. And on behalf of our district, it's an opportunity for us to highlight and spotlight the dynamic work that you are doing as Teacher of the Year, as we represent all of the wonderful teachers here in St. Lucie County. So, Ms. Stubbs, I'm going to ask that if you would please introduce yourself to our viewing audience, tell them your grade also, and the subject that you teach.
Okay. My name is Latricia Stubbs. I teach at Dan McCarty Language Arts, 8th grade, for the school year.
Well, what school did you attend and what was your program of study?
I actually attended Savannah State University in Savannah,
Georgia?
Yes.
Wow.
And there, I actually got my BS in political science, and then from there, I went ahead and got my teaching certification in Georgia.
In Georgia? Wow, Savannah State University. That's the university beside the sea.
Yes, it is.
See, I know.
Yes, it is.
You're teaching 8th grade language arts.
Correct.
What does teaching that subject entail with for those 8th grade students?
Actually, teaching language arts this year incorporates a lot because for our students, they have to be able to synthesize a lot of the information that we have given them and be able to not only produce that information, but they also have to be able to truly understand what they have been taught in order to incorporate that. So that basically means for the language arts department in 8th grade, they're going to have to take multiple tests, one including the 8th grade writing exam that'll be taking place March the 2nd. And there they will have to basically use all of their background knowledge that they've learned from us. And they'll have to read and synthesize information. They'll also have to type an exam, a writing test, and then that will be done in a 90-minute time frame.
I like the word synthesize all of the information.
Yes, they will.
Yeah, that's very important, critical skill for students as well. What's your favorite part of teaching?
My favorite part of teaching is when my students get it, and I know they get it. And they want to show me that they have it, and they want to show others that they have it. And that happens a lot in my room, and that's the best feeling in the world. It really is. And some days as a teacher, it's difficult because your kids, sometimes they understand the information, the next day they may not. But when they actually get it, it makes your day, and it makes me feel like I've actually accomplished what I came to do.
Yeah, when you see that change in their face, or their behavior, their demeanor change because they know for themselves that they understand that's
Absolutely.
a great feeling I think for all educators when that happens.
Is.
And as you said, some may get it today, others may get it tomorrow, but when they get it and the joy that they exude as well is very, very positive. The world that our students live in is always using technology in all aspects of their life. They probably were born with something technological in their hands.
Right.
How do you naturally infuse technology in instruction?
Well, actually, I use a lot of the things that I know that are trending on Facebook, Twitter, social media, to actually help them understand the concepts. And once they realize, hey, that my teacher is normal, she goes on social media, so she's not just, she actually understands those types of things. I relay that back to information that we've learned prior, and then you hear the aha. Oh, I remember that, or oh yes, and then they actually want to go further in their conversations with each other or with me, And that really helps with the technology, and also to bring in technology into my classroom. I also have them use multiple websites where they'll actually take things home. They'll do short responses, they'll do answers, question and answers for me, and then they'll submit it to me via my email, and it'll actually take that information and it'll give me a synopsis of what they understood, what they didn't understand from the previous lesson, or from just information that we've learned weeks ago. So,
which helps you better be prepared to come back and reteach if necessary.
Absolutely.
Give you a new jumping off point. When did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
I knew I wanted to be a teacher probably when I was in the 2nd grade. I come from a family of educators. And I tried to fight that as much as possible. You were running away from us. I was.
Wow.
And my grandmother would, every summer, she would come from school and she would buy all kinds of things for us to do. And then I would be the teacher, and my younger cousins and my sister, they would be the students, and I would make them read this and color this and do this. And if they didn't do it the exact way, I would tear it out of their notebook and make them do it again. And my mom said, she said, "You're going to be a teacher." And I was like, "No." She was like, "Yeah, you're going to be a teacher."
Was there someone special that inspired you to become a teacher?
Actually, it was my grandmother. My grandmother was really, really big in education and on education. She went to school at Albany State University to become a teacher. And so that was just instilled in us that education was what you needed. And she thought so highly of teachers that it made me want to be a teacher, because I knew my grandmother really, she thought highly of them.
Yeah. That's awesome. Albany State, the Rams.
Yeah.
Grandmother.
Yeah.
Miss Nixon, I'm hearing the excitement and the passion as Miss Stubbs speaks.
Oh, yes.
So when you visit her classroom, what do you hear and see in her room?
When I visit, I hear students discussing the learning goal. I also hear students discussing the targets, and I hear them comparing and contrasting information to figure out what are the next steps that we need in order to achieve this particular learning goal. I also see students rating their level of understanding and seeking help. I hear students being provided with feedback from each other. Most importantly, Ms. Stubbs, she provides the feedback throughout the lesson, and her feedback brings them right back to the learning goal and to those targets. I see students who are engaged. I see students who are collaborative. I see students who understand the task and they demonstrate an understanding. And when they don't understand what is expected of them, or maybe they don't understand information, they seek assistance from each other, and more importantly from the teacher. So she's definitely a facilitator, and the students feel comfortable to take risks and to seek out assistance as needed.
I heard you say, I see the students. And I heard a lot about what the students were doing, but then you came back with the close about how she is the facilitator that kind of, that's like that hawk that kind of scoops in. It's really awesome in today's instructional environment when students are facilitating and monitoring and taking risk as they learn for themselves, and we're able to there to guide, gently push, and motivate them. I hear the excitement and the energy in both your voices, which leads me to my next question.
Okay.
Ms. Nixon, what other activities do you see Ms. Stubbs involved in on your campus that kind of help the total operation of the school?
She serves as our department chair, for one. She's our language arts department chair. Now, you will always see Mrs. Stubbs working closely with the literacy coach. She works closely with the instructional partners. In fact, she was chosen to lead the Summer Academy, the Differentiated Accountability Academy that was held this past summer, wherein all schools were invited to participate. So the district recognizes her as a leader and a facilitator for teachers as well. You will also see her on campus demonstrating her knowledge in that she leads different seminars and different professional development sessions on our campus. She takes charge of the language arts department and she guides them as they create the lessons and collaborate to create instruction that will be beneficial to all students, to engage the students. She helps with the basketball team. She's pretty versatile, you know. And that's something I'm not able to do, so thank you so much. She's pretty versatile. She helps with the basketball team, and she contributes to the dance team as well. So she's a well-rounded teacher who is willing to give of her personal time, and with that we know comes many sacrifices, and she makes those sacrifices without complaining, and she gives of herself freely. So in both the social aspect of the school, the academic, and especially in terms of the leadership, you will see Mrs. Stubbs engaged in all types of events and committees, after school, parent conferences. She's there.
Thank you for being so involved. Thank you.
No problem.
I heard a lot from Ms. Nixon about engagement. I even heard some words about engagement from you. DQ5 in our quality framework of instruction is all about engagement. So how do you purposefully plan engagement in instruction?
Well, as a language arts department chair, we collaborate together, and our main focus is what will we do to help our students learn. And we know that in our population, it has to be engagement. We have to engage our students. So we do things like having them work together in partners. We may put them in groups that we have come up with, you know, just to make sure that they understand what they're doing. We also do things like showing them videos, things that we know will keep them engaged. And then once we have them engaged, we continue with the critical information that we need to give to them so that they know exactly what's expected of them. And engagement for our students is a lot. We'll do engagement through music. Sometimes we'll have an activity where they'll pair it with each other and they'll read each other's introductions or body paragraphs or whatever we're working on, and they'll work to the music. And then the music is the symbol. So when the music stops, they know that their time is up. And those types of things keep them moving around the classroom. It keeps them going. And they come into the classroom excited. So they're like, what are we doing today? Are we going to do this today? Well, I really like doing that activity. And that's something that, as a language arts department chair, I put that in my memory bank. And so then when we get ready to plan another lesson, I'll say, this was really good for my students. How about you all? Can we try it again? Can we do something a little bit different? To keep them guessing and keep them engaged in the lesson.
How are you preparing your students to be career and college ready?
I talk to them about that every single day. When we go over the standards, when we go over the scales, and when we go over what the expectations are for their writing, I emphasize that in order for them to be successful in college, they have to be able to take all of the information that I'm giving them now and be able to utilize it and continue to use it throughout middle school, high school, and that it will eventually take them to college, and they will be prepared when that happens. So they understand that the instruction that I'm giving them is for a purpose, is purposeful, and because they know that and they know that it's eventually getting them college ready, they're engaged and they want to do the work because the majority of my students, all of my students, are capable and they want to go to college. They want to do that.
Okay. Ms. Nixon.
Yes.
Ms. Stubbs has been selected the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie County School District, the Teacher of the Year for the state of Florida, and the National Committee is calling you.
Okay.
The first thing they're going to say is describe her using 5 adjectives. What would you say?
Well, I would say that she's keenly aware. And I say that because with our Title I population, we need to be aware of students and where they are currently, what they need, especially in terms of their home environment, in terms of meeting with the parents. So she's keenly aware of students, and if there is a problem, she will seek out help from the next teacher so that they can all collaborate to help restore that particular individual. So I would say that she's keenly aware. Another adjective that I would use to describe Mrs. Stubbs would be knowledgeable. She is a learner, and she's always going deeper into the standards to better understand what is expected of the students, how she should design instruction to meet their needs. She refers back to the rubric to make sure that she is on track, and she's always tracking the student's progress. So I would say that she's knowledgeable. And another adjective that I would use to describe Ms. Stubbs would be interactive. Her kids really do care about their work and if they are meeting the expectations. But that only comes about because of her rapport and how she interacts with them and the type of instruction that she provides for them. She knows how to engage them and how to interact with them so that they are maximizing their potential.
It's a pleasure to have an opportunity to speak with you, Ms. Stubbs, and introduce you to our audience as a Teacher of the Year for Dan McCarty. Ms. Nixon, thank you for joining us as well. And I want to leave you with the words of Bob Harris when he says, it's not that we make a difference, we make the difference for our students. Thank you for making the difference.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's low. That's low. Look, he's blushing.
It's our pleasure to welcome to our Teacher of the Year's highlight, Miss Julie Caiazzo, who's the dynamic Teacher of the Year at Oak Hammock K-8 School. Welcome to our spotlight.
Thank you for having me.
Joining her is the wonderful principal at Oak Hammock, Miss Carmen Peterson. Miss Peterson, thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you.
This is our opportunity to say congratulations and to thank you for all the wonderful work that you do with students each and every day at Oak Hammock, and to also celebrate the great work that all of our teachers are doing in St. Lucie Public Schools. So, Ms. Caiazzo, would you please start by introducing yourself to our viewing audience? Tell them also what grade you teach and the subjects that you teach as well.
Sure. I teach second grade at Oak Hammock, and it's basically all of the subjects: science, social studies, reading, writing, math.
The whole gamut.
All of it, yeah.
All of it, second grade. What a wonderful time for children. Crisscross applesauce, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. Oh, I love. What school did you attend? Where did you earn your degree?
I did 2 years it was IRCC at the time, and then 2 years at FAU.
Florida, go Owls.
Yes.
Yes. Let's jump right in.
Sure.
You're teaching second grade, very impressionable year with students. Those years where we're laying foundational skills for students. But what is your favorite part of teaching?
My favorite part of teaching would have to be just kind of, when you leave the house for the morning, knowing that you're going to have such an impression on these children, knowing that the things that you say, that you teach, the way that you interact with them are going to help shape their decisions in life, in their career, in even the type of person they're going to be, what type of parent they're going to be, what type of aunt or uncle they're going to be. So just knowing that I have that impact and influence on them, and coming in and having them leave the classroom with more information than when they came in, I would say is my favorite part.
That impact and influence, knowing that they're leaving better than they came in. Totally awesome way for teachers to start it and in their day. The world that your students were born into, they were probably born with some technology in their hand. So how do you plan the use of technology in your instruction?
I would say technology is a very vital part of our day. Like you said, that's really what they're used to, and a lot of them can do little things on the computer I've never even seen before. So it's important that I incorporate that into my lessons and my plannings. The students have the opportunity to use the computers during center time, where they can access stories being read aloud. We have a little portable mouse that the students really like to use when we're projecting the story for the week on the board. We have little brain breaks where they're able to access a video online to be able to kind of get back into our learning mode. We show videos that help to make our education higher. So if we're learning about Martin Luther King Jr., there could be a video of his speech that we'll tune into, and they'll be able to see and access that there, as well as our regular voice enhancers and things of that nature. Recently, I was just fortunate enough to get a grant for the classroom for 2 Dell tablets, which I'm going to use. I have 2 students who are deaf and hard of hearing, as well as some ESOL students. And so through the use of those tablets, I'll be able to tap into images for unknown words, which will hopefully aid in their comprehension and understanding of what we're doing.
Great use of technology to influence and enhance instruction. When did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
I think I kind of always knew I was going to be a teacher. There wasn't even any kind of, well, maybe I'll do this or do that. From a very young age, my mother is in charge of religious education at our church. And so as soon as I was maybe a teenager, I would help out with all of the classes. I would assistant teach and then become a teacher myself. And through high school, I'd always just planned, whatever college I go to, they have to have an education program. I don't think I ever even looked to see what other programs they offered. It was just kind of ingrained as an understanding that I was going to take that path.
Would you say that, or can you think, throughout your educational career, your tenure as a student, was there one person or persons that inspired you to be a teacher?
I would have to go back to my mother on that, considering that she was in charge of the programs there, seeing how over the years, over maybe the past 24 years, the students have come back to her, written letters, because of what you said and how you treated me, this is how my life has changed. And just seeing the impact that she has had on them, I knew that I want to make her proud. And because I know what she did, I want to continue kind of that legacy from her.
Like mother, like daughter, continuing the legacy of education. Awesome. Mrs. Peterson, as you visit Ms. Caiazzo's room, what do you see and hear in the classroom?
There's so many things, Dr. Perry. I would say one of the things that stands out when I visit her room is that the kids are having fun. They are learning, but they are having so much fun. They are not afraid to ask questions. They're not afraid to participate. It's the opposite. They're eager to participate. They're eager to get more information. They're eager to share with me when I come in. Ms. Peterson, look at what we're doing. She lets them have some accountability for their own education. She lets them make choices. And so they feel very accountable and very efficient, I think, proficient in that classroom. She makes it fun for the kids. She makes it fun for people that come in like me. One time I went to read a book to the kids, and she just picked the absolute best book, had me in stitches, had the kids in stitches, and when she came back, we made her read the book, which was even better. But just that sense of fun, that sense of excitement, we're learning, what she mentioned before, we're moving forward, something you said about we know more than when we came in. Those are the things I see. And I see that all kids are participating. It's not just one or two, it's everybody. Everybody has something to contribute, and they know it. Those children know that they have something to contribute.
When all students are learning, and learning is fun, engaging, we know that students learn more and they're able to do more because of that knowledge. What other activities do you see Ms. Caiazzo participating in on campus?
How much time do you have? I'll focus on some of maybe the bigger ones, because she really participates in so many different things on campus. Kids at Hope and PBS work together at our school, and Ms. Caiazzo is deeply, deeply, deeply involved in those efforts. Not only with children, but with adults. She's trained our teachers. She's promoted Kids at Hope with adults so that they can pass that on to children. She's mentored new teachers, even though she's a young teacher herself. She's grown rapidly in her profession, and she has so much to offer, and she can relate to our younger teachers. So she's been a wonderful, wonderful mentor. She's a role model, not just for kids, but for other teachers. She's a role model for me. I'm an administrator, but I consider her a role model. Just you name it, Dr. Perry, and she's involved in it. She's involved.
Role model, mentor. As a teacher of the year, you may be called upon to speak to other teachers. What advice would you give to a new teacher?
I think the biggest advice that I could give to a new teacher would be to really utilize the classroom management tools that are provided, either through the use of CHAMPS, PBS, and the belief behind Kids at Hope. Because until you have your classroom controlled and ready to learn in a safe environment, all the other things are going to fall into place once you have that. It's important to collaborate with other teachers, even though the makeup of all your classrooms each year are going to be different. My classroom, the classroom next to me are going to be different, but you have to try different things to find what works for your class, to really make sure that they are being positive, respectful, responsible, and things of that nature, so that you can really spend your time focusing on the quality lessons.
Yeah, that's great. Collaboration with your colleagues, and then management for classrooms, because if we don't have their attention, we can't make sure that they're learning, or that they learn as much as they possibly can. All of those things that Ms. Peterson talked about and that you're talking about kind of allude to the fact about students being properly engaged in instruction. DQ5 of our quality framework of instruction is all about engagement. So how do you purposefully plan engagement into your lessons?
I think the most important aspect of engagement is going to be making the link between real-world situations and scenarios, as well as what's going in our classroom, to make it meaningful. You can tell me 10 minus 8 is 2, but why does that matter in my life? And so we use examples about, well, if you're having a birthday party or ordering cookies, things that they can relate to, so that they're paying attention to it, they want to work with the numbers, they know it's going to help them in their life. So engaging in that sense, but also in a sense where I like to have the students moving around, doing things that are hands-on, trying the different modalities. This way, it's changing every so often, kind of chunking the way that we're doing things, so that students are constantly kind of on it, paying attention, and what's going to happen next. There's an excitement in kind of trying to figure out the next step.
Real-world examples, checking into digestible bites, and making it very applicable to what they're doing and what they're learning. Ms. Peterson, let's move forward. Ms. Caiazzo has been selected as the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie County for the state of Florida, and now the National Committee is calling you. And their first question is, Mrs. Peterson, it's a pleasure to talk to you today. Would you please describe Ms. Caiazzo using 3 adjectives? What would your response be?
First, it would be only 3 would be my response.
And they would say, yes, only 3.
Genuine.
Genuine.
Caring. Compassionate.
Genuine, caring, and compassionate. All signs of great teachers. Okay. They're going to have a follow-up question for you, and they're going to say, she's genuine, she's caring, she's compassionate. So what makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
Well, in my eyes, what makes her the perfect candidate is not only am I an administrator, I'm a parent. And Julie is the teacher I would want my daughter to have.
Ooh.
And I can't think of any higher recommendation than that.
Yeah, when they're the type of teacher that we want our own children to have the opportunity to experience learning through and with, that is a major endorsement. Because we may want you to teach our children, what advice would you give to us as a parent to help us ensure that our child is a success?
I would say to foster the love of education. Have your children catch you reading and talking about reading. Even simple things like thinking out loud when you're at the grocery store to try to problem solve, so that they can see that these are things that happen in everyday life. These are useful skills, and that, just like I said, I wanted to make my mom proud, live in her legacy. Children, they want to please the people that they're around. And so when they see their parents setting those examples, they're going to set goals to meet those examples or exceed those examples.
So continue to set examples that education is exciting.
Right.
And is important. What do you do to ensure that your students are career and college ready?
That's a big question for me. When I was going to school, maybe things weren't as competitive even as they are right now. And so it's really important that students are going above and beyond in their education in order to be able to get into those colleges and have the careers that they want. So for me, one way that I can do this is to make sure that students are not only getting to a correct answer, but questioning why that is the correct answer, the relationship between numbers or words, or the way that the author's style continues to use. Why is that happening? We have a quote for Kids at Hope that we painted over our pod door. It's from Einstein. It said, "The important thing is to never stop questioning." And I think that would really apply in this situation, because if they're constantly trying to figure out why something is happening, that's going to put them in a situation where careers are going to be looking for that. Not just who can do a good job, who can make things better, who can advance things.
Wow. Who can advance things, who can make things better, always questioning the why. Is there something new and exciting that you're working on, that you're involved in?
Yeah, through Kids at Hope, we have a new kind of initiative. It's called One, or Be the One to Stand Up to Bullying. There's a really neat book that we were able to purchase, one for each grade level, and it's all about being one. It only takes one person to stand up to stop bullying. So we're going to have the students sign petitions, talk about it. My class last year really enjoyed the book, and I saw the impact it had on them. So knowing that this will now be a school-wide initiative, K-8, is really exciting for me.
Keep in mind that it only takes a spark to get a fire going.
There you go.
Yeah. Ms. Peterson, is there anything else that you want to say about Mrs. Caiazzo?
Well, yes. I mentioned that she was a role model to me, and this is for Teacher of the Year. And as a principal, I still consider myself a teacher. And there's just no one I would rather have represent me and the teachers of St. Lucie County than Ms. Caiazzo.
Thank you. When will you know that you are a success, Ms. Caiazzo?
Well, let's see. I suppose I know I'm a success when my students are excited about the work that they're doing and kind of pushing themselves to do better. For example, I had a student who we were working on 2-digit addition, and when he was done, he completed early. He asked if he could turn over his paper and try now 3-digit addition or word problems. And so instead of just sitting and waiting, I felt successful because my student wanted to push himself to a further level. And that's kind of when I knew I may be doing something right, because he's headed in the right direction.
Thank you for representing Okemuk, Ms. Caiazzo, as the Teacher of the Year. Ms. Peterson, thank you for joining us. And I'll leave you with the words of William Butler Yeats when he said, "Education is not filling a pail, but lighting a fire." Thank you for lighting the fire in all of your students every day.
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations. We're pleased to welcome to the Teacher of the Year interviews for St. Lucie Public Schools, Ms. Carolyn Patton, who is the fantastic Teacher of the Year for Floresta Elementary School. Welcome to the spotlight.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Floyd, who's the dynamic principal at Floresta, welcome to these Teacher of the Year highlights as well.
Thank you very much.
It is indeed a pleasure for us to have an opportunity to talk to you and just to spotlight and highlight the fantastic work that you're doing with students at Floresta. Ms. Patton, would you please introduce yourself to our viewing audience and tell them the grade that you're teaching and the subjects that all entails?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Carolyn Patton, kindergarten, 40 years in St. Lucie County.
Wow, that's excellent. That's excellent. Oh, kindergarten is a wonderful place. Those foundations, I think the poem that we read, Everything That I Ever Needed to Know.
It's absolutely true.
It's absolutely true. I totally agree with you. Ms. Patton, where did you attend school and what was your degree?
Okay, when I graduated high school, 1971, I'm going to tell them myself.
That's okay.
From Charleston, West Virginia, moved to Florida the very next day after I graduated, enrolled at Indian River, then community college, now State College. Did 2 years there, then finished my degree at Florida Atlantic.
Go Owls.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes. Great.
Elementary ed was my major, and I specialized in early childhood.
Early childhood ed. And 40 years as a kindergarten teacher.
Correct.
Crisscross applesauce, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me.
All those, yes.
All of those.
All those.
After 40 years, Ms. Patton, tell me, what is your favorite part of teaching?
Probably when I can tell that lowest percentile student, that's most struggling child gets it. When the light comes on and they get it, that's probably the favorite part for me.
Yeah, it's great when the light comes on for every child, but we know that different students get it on different days and at different times, but when those most struggling, intrinsic rewards and the light yes, I totally agree, understand. The students that you're teaching were born into an information age where technology at their fingertips. So how do you infuse the use of technology in instruction in the kindergarten room?
Well, we have a variety of materials available to us in the classroom. The Elmo we use all the time. Student computers that the children have available to them in the classroom and in the lab. So just planning lessons around the materials that are available, doing a lot of research online for what is out there that would best serve my students' needs are things I spend a lot of time on.
After 40 years again, there had to be a time when you knew you wanted to be a teacher. When did you decide that you want to be a teacher?
Actually, that decision wasn't all on my own. Originally, I wanted to be a writer. I did some short story writing in junior high school and high school and some children's books, but my father was determined either we were going to be doctors, lawyers, or teachers.
Okay.
So since he couldn't get the other two out of us, my sister and I became teachers.
Great,
Yes.
great. Okay, Dad pushed you
He did.
To be an educator, but would you say that there was possibly one or more teachers that actually inspired you or that you reflect back on that kind of put that nudge in you?
Absolutely, absolutely. I loved school as a child, especially elementary school. Those days are still very fond to me. Still remember my teachers' names, first grade and up. Wasn't privileged enough to go to kindergarten. Where I lived, it was all private. But yes, I would say probably almost every teacher I had in elementary school was quite an inspiration.
Yeah, I can always tell you about Miss Madison, who wrote in my brag book, Kevin, don't be sharp, don't be flat, be natural. And then I turned into a music teacher. Okay.
The handwriting was on the
It
wall.
was, yeah. Miss Floyd, again, welcome. As you visit Miss Patton's kindergarten classroom, tell me, what is it that you see and hear?
I see students talking to one another about the learning that's taken place. There's not a time you go in her class that those students are not in tune to what the purpose is for their learning. They converse with one another. It's really amazing to see these kids do that. I would like to say and emphasize that in her classroom, we do have some struggling students, but you would never be able to detect that. Not by the way she instructs them, by the way the kids talk to one another. It's really phenomenal when you see it happening like that.
I love when you said those students are in tune to the purpose.
They know the purpose.
Of instruction. Yes, that's very important when students understand and know what they're supposed to be learning and why. Why they're learning it. Ms. Floyd, for Ms. Patton to be the Teacher of the Year, I'm sure that she's involved in a plethora of activities that that seed into the total operation of the school. Can you highlight some of those things that she may be involved in?
She's part of our literacy group. She does a lot with that. We have activities after school where we've had a math night. We have done a lot of things that parents are involved in. She recruited some fathers to come in when we had the Million Father activity.
Yes.
And
Dad's involved in education.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And I tell you, there's not one thing I can't ask her to do that she will not do for the school. Everything she does for the school, she's there before I get there at 7, and she's there as late, sometimes it's 4:30 to 5. Always at school, always preparing things. So yes, it is very much a joy to have her with us.
Thank you for your total involvement in the operation of the school. When teachers give that extra, it just sees into the better working of the entire education process for all students. As a Teacher of the Year, we may call upon you at different times to speak to different groups of people. What advice would you give to a new teacher?
Don't ever give up.
Oh, yeah.
Don't ever give up. Sometimes, we think you're kind of hitting your head against a brick wall sometimes, and it seems impossible, but just when you think you're not going to make headway, you do. So just never give up.
So keep the focus.
Absolutely.
Basically going back to understanding the real reason why you decided to be an educator.
Exactly. Why are we here?
In this day and time when your students are heavily involved with the use of technology, we know that DQ5 in our framework of equality instruction is all about student engagement.
Correct.
So how do you purposefully plan for student engagement in your lessons?
I think the area of questioning would probably be the biggest one for me, is having questions prepared on all levels, the higher level students that need that, those strokes, and for the children that are struggling still, that need that extra oomph. So I think probably my level of questioning would be a huge area.
We were talking about the advice that you might give to a new teacher. What advice would you give to students or to parents to ensure that they are a success?
Just putting education first. So many times I find, since I've been doing this for a while, the priorities have really shifted.
Yes.
And back in the day, you know, children and education and learning was a top priority for families. And now so many times I see it's just a matter of existence. It's just getting by on a day-to-day basis, setting goals for your children and making sure they stick to the routines and the habits that will get them there.
Set goals, set routines, and keep
Absolutely.
education as a major priority.
Absolutely.
Ms. Floyd, Ms. Patton has already won the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie County Public Schools. She's also the Teacher of the Year for the state of Florida, and the National Committee is now calling you. How would you describe her using 3 adjectives?
You know what? She is a reflective teacher, number one. She reflects on everything. The second thing I would say, she has totally embraced laughs and maths. She has truly integrated the new standards and has not let up with her learning on that. She researches everything that she does, and she has a way of instilling that in her classroom. Routines and procedures are all in place for her. Those kids know exactly what they need to do. She is more of a facilitator than actually they're trying to do the skill and drill. The kids really know exactly what it is that they need to do. If I was a parent and had a young child today,
They'd be in Ms. Patton's class.
They'd be in Ms. Patton's class.
I hear you. That's a great honor right there. Great job. Ms. Floyd, the committee's not going to let you off that easy. They're going to come back and say, okay, so what makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
She creates an environment of a village where the children truly respond and respect each other. There's warmth, there's caring, there's love, there's flexibility. If the kids don't get it, that environment that she's created, those kids are there to support one another. It's very hard to see that in all classrooms, but that's the kind of environment that she has infused in her class.
Caring, warm, and collaborative environment where the teacher is a facilitator and can swoop in every now and then to help push the learning and the educational process forward. Ms. Patton, back to you. What impact do you have on your students to ensure that they are career and college ready? I know they're in kindergarten, but that's the foundation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Probably through literature, we explore so many different careers and so many different choices. Well, I try to teach them about how important choices are. Like, you know, just a simple little choice, the ripple effect that it has. So making those important choices wisely how it will affect their career in college or even just into adulthood.
Making choices and the literature foundation. Those who read succeed.
Absolutely.
Must understand words. Great, great. Ms. Floyd, is there anything that we haven't spoken about that you may want to add to our viewing audience to let them know that you want to share about our wonderful Teacher of the Year for Floresta?
She leads her group. Well, let me just say this. She is the go-to person in kindergarten. She is the go-to. And she has involved the community to come in and provide experience for kids that might not have ever had that. And this, so far, we've had the law enforcement to come out, and the kids were just enthralled with all of that. But bringing that outside community into the classroom, because we find so many of our children just don't have those experiences or positive experiences with that element. And they're working on some other areas as well.
Well, thank you for being the go-to person.
Thank you.
When our colleagues can come to us and we can seed knowledge and information and assist them in pushing the process forward, that's a wonderful honor as well for teachers. So my final question to you, Mrs. Patton, would be, when will you know that you are a success?
Well, hopefully, when this is done, I'll look back on the career and see like the highlights, and actually it would be through my students.
when they come back. And
they do.
Yes.
I've recycled the children now. I've had the children of the children of the children, so it's probably time to move on, but yes.
Ms. Patton, thank you so much for joining us as we spotlight and highlight the Teachers of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools. Ms. Floyd, thank you for also joining and sharing with us. And I want to leave you with the words of Theodore Brumeld when he said, "Teaching seems to me, beyond a doubt, the greatest of all professions. Thank you for choosing this wonderful profession so many years ago and still putting in the time and the effort to make our students better by being a part of this awesome profession." Thank you again.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Listen to me. I am captain of the track team. And if I'm late,
She doesn't really think she's going to get out of here, does she?
Be nice. She's new. Hello, is anyone there? Ugh!
Wow. Even from our standards, you look awful.
Oh, sweetie, what happened? Me? My friend Becky got to talk to this super cute boy, and I tried to act like I wasn't jealous, but I so totally was. And then out of nowhere, this concrete barrier just popped up. Maybe it was a semi.
You mean you were driving?
Yeah. I mean, I know the whole eyes on the road thing, but this was a super important text. Maybe you have to know, Becky.
Texting? Great.
But it was only like 5 seconds, and I'm a really, really fast texter, so it wasn't even a big deal. Actually, has she texted me back yet? Wow, I get like no bars in this place. I wonder if they have Wi-Fi here.
It's our pleasure to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight show, Mr. Terrence Bariner, who's the fantastic Teacher of the Year for Forest Grove Middle School. Mr. Bariner, welcome to our highlight.
Thank you so much.
Joining him is a very wonderful, awesome, terrific, magnificent principal, Mr. Terry Davis, who's the principal at Forest Grove Middle. Mr. Davis, again, welcome to you as well.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Mr. Bariner, it is a pleasure for us to have this opportunity to highlight the Teachers of the Year for St. Lucie County, and we also want to congratulate you for being selected for that very auspicious honor. So congratulations and welcome.
Thank you again.
Let's start by introducing yourself to our viewing audience. Tell them what grades you teach and the subject that you teach as well.
Okay, well, again, I'm Terrence Bariner. I teach at Forest Grove Middle School. I've been there for about 12 years now, and I've taught a variety of subjects. I started off teaching 6th grade reading and math, and now I'm teaching 8th grade U.S. history.
Okay. Tell us, what school did you attend and what's your degree?
I attended Florida A&M in Tallahassee.
We won't hold that against you.
Yes, Florida A&M in Tallahassee, where I majored in history education.
Okay. Again, welcome and congratulations. This year, what subjects are you teaching?
This year, I'm solely 8th grade history, which is American history.
American history, okay. You've been at Forest Grove 12 years or so, teaching there. What has become your favorite part of teaching?
Wow. Favorite part of teaching, I will have to say, is probably the relationships that I have with the students. Watching the maturation process over the years, seeing them come in as these tiny 6th graders, and then leaving as 8th graders who are over 6 feet tall and mustaches and all. I really like seeing that growth with our students. Not only the physical growth, but I also like seeing the academic growth. Those students who may come in with not knowing how to read or reading very little, and then by the time they leave, they're pretty good at it. So that's probably my favorite part.
It's amazing to me that you use the word relationships, because I've always believed that relationships are key to the work that we do with students, the work that we do with each other. So that is very important to understand how necessary relationships are in the education process. The students that you're teaching have all been a part of this information technology age. I think they were probably born with some form of technology in their hands. How do you infuse technology into your daily instruction?
Okay, I use technology several different ways. Probably the most often used piece of technology is the projector that I have in my classroom. Being history, it tends to be a lot of auditory from the teachers, but I believe that we have to put some faces with these things, with these people that we talk about in history. It's one thing for me to talk about Thomas Jefferson. It's a completely different thing for the students to be able to match a face with who he is. I also like for the kids to be able to see different things from a particular era that we're talking about, the way they dress, their hairstyles, all of those types of things are ways that I use technology. And probably the biggest way that I use technology is something that I just found this year. It's an app called Plickers. With Plickers, each one of the students is given their own unique shape that they have pasted into their notebooks. Questions appear on the screen, and then the students answer it by turning their shapes in different directions. Then I take out my cell phone and scan the room, and it automatically picks up their answers to those questions. It's amazing the first time that I pulled it out with the kids, the ooh and ahs, and what is he doing with this? What's this thing?
Well, yeah, you're going to have to talk more about that and share that more with all of us so that we can use that in our daily instruction. When did you first decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
I wish I had one of those great stories like some people who can say, I knew from the very time that I could speak that I wanted to be a teacher. Well, for me, that's just not the case. I went through many different career choices as a kid, and I think I probably started out wanting to be a Ninja Turtle. That was the first thing. I wanted to do karate and all. But seriously, I think I decided I wanted to be a teacher when I was in 11th grade. In 11th grade, sitting in the classroom where I was bored out of my mind. And I was thinking, there has to be a better way. So I decided, instead of me complaining about it, let's do something about it. So I decided to become a teacher to help out those students who were like me, someone who wasn't necessarily interested in what was happening in the classroom.
As you think back to making that decision, can you say that there was a teachers that inspired you to become a teacher?
Yes, without a doubt. Probably the first person that was an inspiration for me becoming a teacher was my sister, my older sister. She always knew that she wanted to be a teacher from the time that we were little kids, and I was her student. I was her test experiment. So she would go over shapes and colors and reading and math with me. As a matter of fact, she taught me how to read before I entered kindergarten. So because of those types of things, that's kind of what pushed me in the direction as well.
Great. Mr. Davis, let's turn our attention to you. When you enter Mr. Barroner's classroom, what is it that you see and hear in his room?
When you enter Mr. Barroner's classroom, you better not sit down and get comfortable with wherever you're sitting, because at some point in the lesson, everybody's going to get up and move around. And you don't want to be standing in a corner either, because you might do an activity where you vote with your feet, and all of a sudden all of the students are walking to one side of the room or the other, and you don't want to get in kids' way. It's a very active classroom. Kids are engaged in the lesson. They're engaged in learning, whether it's a Kagan structure, or the use of technology, a Jeopardy game as a review. It's a lively place, but it's quiet and calm, and it's just amazing how he manages to form again those relationships, as you said, with some of our most challenging students. And in other classrooms, they cause all kinds of problems, but with Mr. Barroner, he seems to be able to pull them in, build that one-on-one relationship with them, and make them feel like they're a comfortable part of the classroom, and they participate to an extent that you don't see in other classrooms.
It appears to me that you're very excited with the choices of Teacher of the Year for your school. Tell me, what other activities do you see Mr. Barroner involved in that kind of feed into the total operation of the school?
Well, he runs our after-school credit recovery and tutoring programs, which is a huge undertaking. He manages the schedules for all of those kids. He monitors their progress in the software program that we use for kids who are trying to catch up because they've failed a required class. He handles the discipline for those kids when they misbehave. He handles the bus routes. It's like there's a second school after school, and Mr. Barroner's the principal.
Wow.
It's a huge commitment of his time and energy, and the dividends really pay off. There are kids now in 9th grade who last year, if it hadn't been for Mr. Barroner and pushing them and keeping on top of them in credit recovery, would not have been there. They would still be in 8th grade.
So the academic teacher all day long teaching 8th grade history, and then turning around being the facilitator, the after-school principal kind of
for a big program.
For a big program. Oh, thank you, Mr. Barroner. Thank you. And Mr. Barroner, Mr. Davis used the word engagement, and we know that DQ5 in our instructional quality framework quality framework for instruction is all about engagement. How do you purposefully plan engagement in your lessons?
Well, usually when we think about history, we're not thinking about a very engaging subject area. So the planning is very important. And the one thing that I've learned is you have to mix it up. You have to have that lively pace for the students. Activities shouldn't last very long. So big use of engagement, Kagan structures. I allow the kids to get up, move around. I allow them to talk to each other as well, because I understand that them talking to each other is very useful for them. It lets them process their learning that they just had, as well as they may learn it from someone else better than they could from me.
Engagement, very important key to instruction, especially to today. As Teacher of the Year, you may be called on to have a conversation, to speak to many different people. What advice would you give to new teachers?
To new teachers, I would say, make sure that this is something that you want to do. There's no glory here, and it can be difficult. So you need to make sure that this is truly what you want to do. This isn't a fallback profession. You have to have that passion for what you want to do. So in addition to making sure this is what you want to do, be flexible. Things change. Regardless of what your plans are, tomorrow that may not be the case. So be flexible and always be prepared.
Be prepared, be flexible, make sure this is what you want to do. That's very important because the students are counting on you.
Yes, definitely.
What advice would you give to parents or to students to ensure that they are a success?
For parents, it's simple. Reading. Make sure that your students are reading. Even before they're at the age of reading, make sure that you're reading to them before they can read for themselves. After they're able to read for themselves, block off an amount of time that they have to do some type of reading for you. As far as the students, advice for them, 2 things I can say for that. First, get a planner, manage your time, set a schedule for yourself and make sure that you stick with that schedule. And the second part, reading again. Make sure that you are reading. Reading is at the root of all of the academic subjects, and if you can handle the reading, you should be successful in most of your subjects.
I've always believed that those who read succeed. Well, Mr. Davis, here we go. Mr. Barron has been selected the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools, the Teacher of the Year for the state of Florida, and the National Committee is now calling you. The first question they say is, Mr. Davis, describe Mr. Barron using 3 adjectives. What would you say?
Only 3.
Only 3?
Well, I would say that he's passionate about what he does. He lives and breathes education before, during, after school, on weekends and evenings, I've called him. And he's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, he's an educator. Relentless. I would say he does not give up on kids. He's very proactive, and he's very he invested in making sure that the kids that he has contact with are successful, and he pushes and pushes and pushes and pushes until they get tired of it, and the results speak for themselves. Kids, he has really helped, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids over his tenure at Forest Grove Middle School to move on to the next level. And I would say calm, not. I would say unflappable. When big things happen in a classroom, and those are teachers, those of us who are teachers know that big things sometimes happen. He reacts calmly and collectedly, and he doesn't get upset, and he thinks clearly on his feet. I would say unflappable, calm, and cool.
They're going to have a follow-up question for you, and they're going to say relentless, passionate, calm. But what makes him the perfect candidate for this honor?
He is very good at expressing what he does. As you've seen in this interview, he's very well-spoken and thoughtful. He's an excellent communicator. He's a superb mentor to teachers who are new. They're very fortunate to get him as a mentor, because you can tell the ones that use his mentorship effectively, they do exceedingly well in the profession.
And if there's one thing that you want to tell us, something that you want to share about Mr. Barron, what would it be?
He's willing to pitch in he is willing to help do anything to move the school forward, whether it is helping a kid during his class time or during his planning time with credit recovery, or stepping in at the last minute in a student play when someone doesn't show up and he has to play
role.
a student role. Total success of the school.
It is very important when we have those teachers that contribute to the total success and operation of the school. Mr. Barriner, my follow-up question to you would be, when will you know that you are a success?
That's rather difficult. I think success has to be looked at a couple different ways. First way you have to look at success is short term. I know that I'm successful after teaching a lesson and the students master that. And the other way that I look at success is long term. The long term way is I take a look at where the students were when they came to me, then I take a look at where they are at the end of the year. If we see that growth, then I know that the year has been a success.
Mr. Barriner, thank you for joining us here as we highlight the Teachers of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools. Mr. Davis, we appreciate you joining us as well. And I just want to leave you with these words of William Ward when he said, "The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, the great teacher inspires." It's very evident to us that you're inspiring all the students that you work with in your classes and across the campus at Forest Grove. So again, congratulations on this terrific honor as the Teacher of the Year for Forest Grove.
Thank you so much.
What do you think it would be like to teach? Chances are, you have no idea. Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places, and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable. That's what it's like to teach.
At this time, we want to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight, Ms. Heather Blackman, who's the Awesome Teacher of the Year for Fort Pierce Central High School. Welcome to our highlight show.
Thank you.
Joining Ms. Blackman is Mr. Todd Smith, who's the fantastic principal at Fort Pierce Central. Mr. Smith, we welcome you also.
Thank you.
Ms. Blackman, congratulations on your award and being selected as the Teacher of the Year. Would you start by introducing yourself to our viewing audience and tell us what grades, and subjects you teach?
My name is Heather Blackman. I teach at Fort Pierce Central High School. I teach Creative Photography 1, Creative Photography 2, as well as Digital Media, aka Yearbook.
Yearbook, okay.
I teach 9th through 12th grade students.
9th through 12th grade. Where did you attend college, university?
I jumped around a bit, but I ultimately got my associate in arts degree from Miami-Dade College in Miami, Florida. And then I finished my Bachelor of Science at Florida International University in Miami. But I've attended several community colleges. I've even taken some classes at University of Miami. So.
And what was the degree in?
My associate in arts is in art education, and my Bachelor of Science is in art education as well.
In the subjects that you teach, what does that all entail?
It's a lot of things. It's art, it's technology, it's self-expression, it's literacy, it's promoting, it's advertising, publishing, layout design, aesthetics, everything.
When you look at being, if I may use this term, an art teacher, it's a very emotional kind of subject to teach. What emotions do you see generated from your students in the work that they produce?
Probably the biggest thing is a sense of confidence, risk-taking, either paying off or not paying off, their self-esteem, confidence level. Those are the biggies that I see in my classroom.
But they're all skills and emotions that they'll be able to use and transfer into.
Yeah, into the business world, the private sector, hopefully further on their educational path, higher education.
When you look at the many subjects that you teach, the different grades that you teach, what is your favorite part of teaching?
My students, hand down my students. I consider them, my bosses, my audience, they're everything. They really are the reason why I come to school. it's kind of almost a give and take relationship. They really inspire me, and I inspire them, and just the medium and the technology that we use. It's just, I mean, we have those aha moments all the time in my classroom. So.
That's awesome. You just mentioned the word technology, so let's go there. How do you naturally infuse technology into instruction?
Well, for me, technology is the foundation of the courses I teach. We use digital cameras in creative photography, and then we use software such as Adobe Photoshop, and which is an image editing software. As same thing with yearbook and digital media. It's an online program, a graphic program to publish the yearbook using layouts and fonts and things like that. So it really is everything. It's always incorporated.
When did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
In college, I had so many interests, and I thought, what kind of career path am I going to take? Because I love writing, and I had incredible science teachers in my life. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to go that route, but art was really the unifying factor. Art and students, young people in general. That's what made me, I finally put that together in college, and I was like, this is what I want to do.
You talked about the fantastic science teachers. Teachers. Can you say that there was one or more teachers that might have inspired you, you think, as you look back, as you reflect?
Yeah, they were like a dynamic duo. I'll never forget Ms. Shulgin and Ms. Henry. They were my 7th and 8th grade science teachers. And they were all inspiring. I don't think I even looked at a textbook. They were really out of the box. We were constantly doing experiments. It was completely hands-on. I mean, we were out of the classroom as much as we were in the classroom. They just really opened up my eyes to like just the world at large through science, and it was amazing.
So they made science actually come alive.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt.
Mr. Smith, it's great talking to an art teacher and hearing the passion and understanding how teachers made learning come alive for her. Tell me, what is it that you see and hear when you enter Ms. Blackman's room?
Upon entering Ms. Blackman's classroom, you'll see a free exchange of ideas permeating throughout the classroom. Regardless of what classification the students may be involved in, we have students with ESC services, ELL services, dual enrollment students, and honors level students, all congregated in one classroom. Regardless of their academic ability or their ability in art, they freely engage and share ideas in a group process with one goal: to make themselves better artists, ultimately, and better students.
It's very evident from listening to you speaking, and Mrs. Blackman, that she's actually involved in the total operation of the school. Can you share with us other things that she may be involved in?
I'll definitely try to share, but essentially we have a joke that we have growth opportunities. And 3 years ago, Ms. Blackman Tanner walked on our campus for the first time. As she walked on the campus, I showed her the auditorium, and she said she was home. So since then, she's been the artistic director for our drama productions. She's worked with Avenue D Boys Choir. She has worked with Yearbook, so she touches every component on our campus regardless of their function: athletics, academics, custodial. Anything that we have, we go to Ms. Blackman, and she assists in that, regardless of the time frame that we put upon her.
I heard Mr. Smith earlier mention the word engagement, and we know that DQ5 in our instructional quality framework of instruction is all about engagement. How do you purposefully plan for engagement in your lessons?
Well, coming from performance and art, it's very easy to live in DQ5. But I purposely have to, when I'm writing a lesson plan, really plan for that nowadays, especially with creative photography and dealing with, software and students getting frustrated. I have to make sure that there are number one moments to break away from that, to go back into the art realm and less into the technology realm. So I plan for, lessons within lessons for engagement. So they're moving around, they're working together, and critiques, a little bit of controversy, just to get them kind of really going again and inspiring.
So they have an opportunity to work on something and then see what it could end up being.
Absolutely.
Would that be correct? Okay, great. Is there something new and exciting that you're working on that you may want to share?
Yes. I wrote the grant for Empty Bowls, which is a project where we raise money for the Treasure Coast Food Bank. Students at the elementary, middle, and senior high level are creating ceramic bowls that are sold at the Fort Pierce Farmers Market. So Eileen DeTulio had done it for numerous years, and this is the first year where I've taken it over. So I'm very, very excited about that. As well as the yearbook. It's a challenge, but very rewarding to see our cover done. It's just like, oh, it's just so cool.
And MD Bowls is not just for Fort Pierce Central.
Oh, no. In fact, I've kind of made it a little bigger this year. I've teamed up with Rivers Edge Elementary, and they're going to be hosting their own event. So I'm going to work with classroom teachers to produce about 250 bowls, and they will have their own event at that school, as well as we've even included John Carroll, which is a private school, but elementary, middle, and senior high in St. Lucie County will be participating.
As a Teacher of the Year, you're often called upon to speak to other people, other groups. What advice would you give to a group of new teachers?
To immediately go to Google and to look up Dr. Pearson, her TED Talks on...
Rita Pearson.
Yes, I absolutely. She is...
Phenomenal.
Whenever I'm having a rough day, I immediately go to her. To Google her and listen to her talks about Teach Anyway. That's my motto. Sometimes when you get bogged down with paperwork or whatever the case may be, teach anyway. And to look for that champion in these kids.
Yeah, great, inspiring story. I've seen that one numerous times as well.
I love her.
What advice then would you give to students or parents to ensure that they are a success?
To stay involved. Stay involved, ask questions. When I taught at the elementary level, there were parents everywhere. And now at the high school level, I hardly ever see them unless it's from a conference table. So I really make it a point to reach out to parents, keep them in the loop, call them, email them, but they need to stay involved, they need to ask questions.
Okay, Mrs. Smith, moving back to you. Ms. Blackman has been selected as the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie County School District, the Teacher of the Year for the state of Florida, and now the National Committee is calling you. The first question that they have for you is, Mrs. Smith, describe Ms. Blackman using 3 adjectives.
She's passionate.
Passionate.
And she's passionate about her curriculum, but more importantly, she's passionate about all her students, not her favorite students. Like I said, regardless of ability level, they all connect with Ms. Blackman. She's also meticulous. When you walk into the classroom, she puts real-life application in every setting. Well, she'll have a gallery walk where she'll set up pictures and she'll have the fruit and the drinks for the kids to walk through, so they really experience that. Although they may never visit a museum, they would know how to act. Also, she's a visionary. She came, I challenged her with growth opportunities. She challenged me back. We've never had an art club. Well, we have an art club. We've never had a cosmetology club. We have a cosmetology club. We have never had fashion design as a course at our campus. Now we've selected that. So our ultimate goal for the visionary is to have her students videotape and photograph and design their own clothes for our fashion show.
Awesome. Real world applications. And with that, I'm going to come and ask you, how are you ensuring that your students are career and college ready?
By, number one, putting that in their head the minute they walk into Fort Pierce Central High School. And I think that is, that's all of our teachers, all of our administrators. We want them already seeing that, the path to higher education. But as far as a teacher, project-based learning is how I want them to build a portfolio, to get scholarships, to go to these schools. So I talk about that constantly.
Mrs. Smith, the committee will come back to you with their second question saying, so what makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
Well, when she was hired at Fort Pierce Central, I challenged her to grow a program. And when I challenged her to do that, the expectations I could never foresee. We went from 3 classes to approximately 7 to 8 classes of course offerings. But the thing about that is it's unified the educational community, and it also has a true sense of development between all the arts. We're visual, we're performing, and they all work hand in hand to collectively. And it just unified the entire program.
Is there anything else that you may want to share with us about Ms. Blackman?
The one thing I'd like to share with her is, as an art teacher, that doesn't define her. What defines her as a parent, and as a principal, that doesn't define me. What defines me as a parent. And I can't wait till next year, because ninth graders are not allowed to take photography. But I have 2 students that are going to be in 10th grade next year, and I for sure anticipate them be sitting in Miss Blackman Gordon's class next year.
What a great honor to actually want your children to be in her classroom. Miss Blackman, final question for you. When will you know that you are a success?
I don't know. My grandmother would say probably about how many people attend my funeral. I guess probably when you're out in the community and people come up to you, you were my art teacher and I learned this. That's always rewarding as a teacher to hear that. When students or students' parents stop you when you're out grocery shopping or whatnot and share a little tidbit of something that they took from your class.
It is a pleasure to have this opportunity to speak with you and to celebrate your selection as Teacher of the Year, Ms. Blackman. And Mr. Smith, we thank you for joining us on this highlight of our Teacher of the Year as well. And I'll leave you with the words of Albert Einstein when he said, "It is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge." And it's apparent that you're doing that every day with your students at Fort Pierce Central. Again, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
As we celebrate the Teachers of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools, we celebrate them, we honor them, and we thank them, for we know that each of them chosen the most challenging and most rewarding profession there is or will ever be. Imagine the light in the eyes of newly motivated students, or the smile on the face when a seemingly unfathomable concept is finally grasped. So to all of our teachers, thank you for being such wonderful teachers, exemplary role models, and caring people. Thank you for knowing your subjects and for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for not being afraid to treat students like real people. Thank you for showing acceptance, approval, and appreciation. Every day you make a difference, and every day you do that something that truly matters. Every day you leave an undeniable mark on the future, and we celebrate you.